Deontay Wilder versus Tyson Fury 2, which went down at the MGM Grand in Las Vegas, and massive shellacking, a massive dominant performance from Tyson Fury. The King is back, and cannot wait to dissect this one again with you guys. Even though we did a post-fight show that was really detailed, we're going to obviously break it down again with you guys now a couple of days removed from it. New thoughts and improved, obviously, analytical thinking about the fight. But without further ado, let's get to the full panel because we do have a lot to get to as well. Claressa Shields, Layla Ali, Canelo Alvarez. A date is sort of been attached to when he will determine his next fight. So that's awesome to hear. Plus, the Regis Prograis Maurice Hooker fight, all but official, with a press conference on Thursday. And a great co-main event as well to get to on that one. Also, Sergey Kovalev being a piece of shit and getting a DUI. A lot to get to on today's show, guys. Without further ado, let's go out to the panel in Dallas. Gary in Dallas. Gary, what's up, man?
I've watched that Wilder Fury fight about 7 times. I still can't believe the performance that Fury put forth. Absolutely dominant performance. But I can't wait to chop it up and see what everyone else thinks. Rob?
Mr. Robbie Hearns, second cousin twice removed of Sir Eddie. Rob, how are you, man?
Yeah, doing good. Crazy weekend. Yeah, we're going to reflect on it. I don't know if we're going to get to some of the stuff that Wilder's come out and said this today. There's actually a Yahoo Sports as well with Kevin Ioli. I'll send you that in a second, Matt. But yeah, crazy
48 hours.
Yeah. Just UK stand up. The heavyweight division for the time being is over here on our tiny little island. So yeah, how we doing? Let's talk about it.
Yeah, man. Kaz over there in the live chat. Sad, man. The UK got a monopoly on the titles, obviously, of the heavyweight division. Let's get to it, obviously. Deontay Wilder losing in the 7th round due to a towel being thrown in. His towel, obviously, from Mark Breland in his corner, which we're going to get to as well in a bit. And, I mean, what is there really to say about this fight other than what we've said in the post-fight show? I mean, Tyson Fury was utterly dominant. He confused, bewildered Deontay Wilder with his game plan overall, his overall strategic goal of being the aggressor, swarming Deontay Wilder, but plus even the tactical approach he used of, the feints, the movement he did to really disrupt the timing and the sort of composure of Deontay Wilder. I mean, a lot of what Tyson Fury did in terms of being successful wasn't actually not in punches being thrown. It was just pure movement. Go back and watch the fight. Just watch how many times he feints. He does settle, feint, moves with his hand, move with his hips. He's constantly moving in ways where if you're a Deontay Wilder who's so predicated off of landing a straight right hand, which is a very singular shot with a very singular angle, it becomes difficult. And it became very difficult for Deontay Wilder rather quickly. Guys, thoughts on this fight? I mean, we're a couple days removed here. Overall thoughts, thoughts on obviously the X and O's, but also overall thoughts on this fight. I mean, it does feel like a massive moment, not just for like our sport, but just sports. Like this transcended our little bubble, it feels like. So I don't know who wants to jump in and start to talk, but Gary, I mean, thoughts 2 days removed now from the epic moment, the shot heard around the world. That was the knockdown of Tyson Fury knocking down, I should say, Deontay Wilder and him winning.
Again, getting knocked down in a heavyweight scrap shouldn't be like as shocking to people. Like Ali got knocked down by Chuck Webner. Holyfield got knocked down by Bert Cooper, right? Like, heavyweights are big dudes. They can crack. Getting knocked down was never like that big of a, but it was, what was impressive about this was the fashion that it was done. It was so one-sided. And I went back and watched it, and you're right. Wilder didn't win the second round. So Fury won every round.
I'm so glad we can agree on that.
Glenn Feldman scored it for Wilder, though.
You're not wrong. It's just like, if you watch it 10 times that round, you may give it to Wilder 1 out of that 10 times.
Fury won round. I originally scored it for Wilder. The dominance was so impressive. You start to think, can anyone at this weight class beat Fury? And it's going to be real tough, right? Because I was always the one to pick Usyk. Usyk is going to be giving up 50 pounds to him, 60 pounds to him. That might be too much, right? Like, well, Fury might just maul him on the inside and use his physical size to break him down and make him a stationary target. Just tire him out. It's going to be tough. Fury right now looks like an all-time great heavyweight. Now we'll see how he looks in a rematch or against Joshua or a different opponent. But right now, there's nobody beating him in the heavyweight division.
I largely agree with you. I mean, like, there's a reason I put the thumbnail as "The King is Back." It does feel like Tyson Fury is something great. I'm not a big fan of him as a person, but I mean, in terms of pure boxing ability, I mean, he's a complete fighter in an age for 20 years now in the heavyweight division where complete fighters don't really exist. And that's a big commodity. Rob, a couple days now removed from the fight. I mean, you're still on that emotional high that you were that morning. You were hyped, Rob. You're still hyped. You still waving the flag, showing your glove to everyone.
No, I only saved that for the show. Yeah, no. But no, yeah. I mean, I picked Fury on points because of how the first fight was. I mean, we look back now over 2 fights between the 2 guys. For me, Wilder's won 2, maybe 3 rounds out of 19 against Fury. So looking at the first fight, if Fury was on point and he could avoid that right hand or keep it occupied, or ride some shots that he didn't get dropped, I felt Fury was gonna, cruise to quite another comfortable night against Wilder. But I mean, shout out to Michael Benson. He's been through all of fight week and clipped out Tyson Fury telling the press, telling the world, telling however many millions were tuning in that he was going to come forward, he was going to bully the bully, he was going to knock Wilder out, he was going to do it that way. And everyone was kind of like, "Oh, Fury, he's funny, eh? Like, funny guy. No one believes this. Only a select few." And even myself.
I pointed out in the previous show exactly how Fury won. I want to make that clear. I didn't pick him.
No, you said how he could do it that way. Yeah.
And I said it was absolutely possible. But I always point out the him going in the media and saying, "I'm going to be the aggressor." That was a sheep in wolf's clothing right there. That line of public narrative, because it was true. He was absolutely right in what he was wanting to do, and he was out front about it because it was clearly the game plan.
Yeah.
But you're right. Most people didn't think that he was.
It came from Fury's mouth. That's the thing. And we know, and the whole pillow fist narrative, it's not that I necessarily think Fury can't punch hard. It's just he can. It's just he's usually on the move, on the back foot, picking people, flicking out that jab and maybe following up with is not standing, brawling, mauling. And I know he's done it kind of before. I think when Cunningham dropped him, he got up and then took it to him. When Wallin cut him, he then made it, "I'm going to get up close and in your face and we're going to brawl this out." But generally a Fury win, sort of, it's a boxing lesson.
Mm-hmm.
But he just absolutely mauled Wilder from start to finish. It was incredible. I think the key moment, having watched it back, and also someone tweeted it that was ringside. I think I can never say the guy's Manuk, whatever. I think he tweeted
Manuk Akpayan, I think.
Yeah, he kind of clipped a little bit, and it was like, this is like sometimes the greatest moment of a fight, the 10 seconds before the bell, and you just see Fury like bouncing up and down like, let's go. Wilder's sort of in the other corner looking sort of mean and mysterious and like full of, I guess, confidence.
Mm-hmm.
And just before the bell rings, Fury switches stance. He goes for, I think he switches to southpaw, or maybe he goes whichever way. And then he just runs across the ring. And it kind of just set the tone straight away. So I'm going to be in your face.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care about your right hand because I'm going to do my thing. And Fury was just a demolition job. Yeah, there's still an element of disbelief. Not disbelief, but like I said on the post-fight show, just the collective, if everybody had turned down their TVs, the collective gasp or oh shit when he just hit him with that shot, sort of side of the head, or it was just like, oh my, Wilder's down, like, oh my god, it's crazy. Old Pillow Fist has dropped him. It was insane. And then like the body shot that put him down. I've seen another angle of it today. I think it was just some mobile phone footage and it's from a different side of the ring. Oh, it's a heavy shot to the body, but I mean, Wilder's feet at that point were just, terrible crossing, and they just weren't under him. And
he was beat up. He was done.
Just absolutely brutalized.
I see some people in the chat questioning the weight gain of Wilder, whether that tired him out. I don't think that's had anything to do with how he looked. I think he got beat up and dropped really early in the fight, and that's hard to get back to. It's hard to get back from, I should say. Like the first Anthony Joshua and Ruiz fight, for example. It is extremely hard, especially an equilibrium shot behind the ear. I mean, that puts so many people down and out, and it's hard to get your feet back. The weight gain from Wilder had no negative impact. If anything, it should have had a positive impact. I think it largely did to a degree. It allowed, I think, in spots for him to tussle with Fury in the clinch a little bit better, because if he was 210 with a 270-pound Tyson Fury, that would not have been a smart thing for him to do or to prepare for.
No,
the issue with Deontay Wilder is purely from a technical perspective. Like, that's just all it is, guys. His ability to slip off the center line is all but non-existent. And when you're a 6'7" heavyweight with that power and that reach, you can get by with not having to slip off the center line like a lot of other guys do. But against a 6'9" guy who has an equal or better reach than you, who's a better technical boxer than you, you have to slip off the center line. You just do. He doesn't. His thinking of slipping on the center line is just to turn his head. And that just exposes your ear and the side of your head to a shot. That's how he got dropped, literally. He didn't dip. He just turned his head. He literally just turned his shoulders and his head. He didn't dip off the center line.
Well, the 1-2 kind of turned his head as well. But yeah, it just has.
No. That's what I'm saying. No, that's what I'm saying. He, instead of dipping off the center line, he just turns his head. He doesn't. His understanding defensively is really. There is no understanding of defense for his game. I mean, let's be honest. And when you're facing guys that are so that technical divide is so much, it doesn't matter if you're the better power puncher. It doesn't. I'm sorry. It doesn't matter if you have a better right straight than Tyson Fury. Tyson Fury is better than you in every facet. So like you said, to a degree, to piggyback off your, like, he's won 19 rounds of X amount of rounds, right? But think about it. Fury had 12 rounds to download Wilder's timing, his speed, his power, his technique, his style, and download that like data, like any other slick boxer does. And the rematch, he adjusted to it perfectly. Okay? This is what Mayweather does. This is what other defensive fighters do. So Wilder's weight gain is not an issue at all. It's his technical faults, his lack of a complete arsenal, a complete defensive skill set, and an offensive skill set as well. He can't even throw a left hook to the body or double up a left hook, really. Like, have you ever seen Wilder throw a 1-2 and then a double left hook? Ever seen him throw a 4-piece like that in his life? No. And if you have a guy that can do that and is bigger than you, has the reach, you can't combat it, guys. Guys, jump in here for a bit. I mean, I feel like I may end up being a real hater of Wilder on this show, and I like Wilder. I mean, everyone that knows,
it's not hating though. It's just
no. I know that, but the people out there will probably portray me that way. I think that there's clearly an issue with his skill set that needs to be addressed, and to act like it doesn't need to be addressed is just purely ignorant on his continuing issues in the fight game.
For me, it's too late for me. I don't know what can be done now. He's 34 years of age. He's completely and utterly dependent on his power. I don't know. It's like I've seen a lot this since the fight. Like Wilder was exposed, and it kind of was. It's like I hate to say it because there's obviously something there, but the one trick pony, the one trick didn't work. Like there's a guy that's figured out like the way around that one trick, and that's that huge right hand. Now, virtually everyone that's tasted it has hit the canvas, and that's it. Game over. You know. I just don't. I don't know. I mean, we'll get into that article if you want, but
no, not yet. Gary, jump in here. I mean, where did Wilder go wrong? Where can he go right in the rematch? Because let's be honest here, like we can probably sit here and just say Tyson Fury can do the same thing again in the trilogy fight, and it should work. You know what I mean? Like Tyson Fury made the adjustments to fight Wilder, so the trilogy fight he's done making adjustments to a degree. Wilder's the one that now needs to make the adjustments. So what did he do wrong? How can he correct those issues? And because let's be honest, we're going to talk about the trilogy fights coming up, but I mean, how can Wilder become a better boxer? Because he needs to be.
So, look, Wilder isn't going to become an inside fighter, right? He's not going to become Miguel Cotto on the inside, and he's not going to become Floyd Mayweather on the back foot, right? If he tries to do it, he's going to look like Jarrett Hurd trying to fight up the back foot. Like, don't do that, right? Like, be who you are, but fine-tune the things that you are good at, right? Like, it's like at this point trying to make Shaquille O'Neal a three-point shooter. It's like, okay, come on, let's be realistic. Like, that's not who he is. Can he beat Wilder? Can Wilder beat Fury? That's going to be because of an unforced error on Fury. If Fury executes the way he executed on Saturday.
But here's the issue. Here's the issue. If that is the mentality, that it has to be due to an unforced error from Fury's side to deliver that knockout blow, he's already lost. It needs to be a forced error. That's where Wilder needs to get into. I'm talking about fine-tuning him, right? To become better at what he does. He needs to somehow find a way to walk Fury down, apply more volume, be able to sort of slow down Fury to a degree to land that right hand. That's what he needs to do. He needs to create forced errors for Fury to land that right hand.
So
if he's just off of a whim, then it's going to end up just like this again.
So here's the thing, right? Like the Holyfield versus Tyson kind of mentality where it's if he comes forward, just tie him up and push him backwards. The problem was Holyfield was freakishly strong and was stronger than Tyson, so he could push Tyson backwards. Wilder ain't stronger than Fury, so when they come together, it's going to be Wilder going backwards. Like I don't know how Wilder can win this without just catching him on a mistake. Like I really can't come up with the only blueprint I can come up with is that he catches Wilder and that Wilder catches Fury in an unforced error. I can't think of any other game plan that he can beat him. It's like a great pitcher against the great hitter. The great pitcher has the advantage. If he hits his corners, if he makes his pitches, more often than not, he's going to get the hitter out. If he makes a mistake, all bets are off, right? That's kind of what I have here. Fury is the master boxer. Fury is the more skilled craftsman. If he does his thing without any errors, he wins. I don't know how you sell that to Wilder, but it's true.
Puncher's chance is all you're saying, right?
That's it.
So,
and he's got a great puncher's chance because his punch is unique.
So you're actually coming down to almost the side of you can't even fine-tune Wilder now. Like it's just like it's almost set in stone unless Fury fucks up that Fury's going to win this trilogy fight.
He can't beat this guy. He could beat Joshua, maybe Ruiz. I think he could beat those guys. But this guy's too good.
Okay.
Fury, a lot was going into Wilder's excellent in rematches. Fury has had 3 fights where the first fight went 12 rounds and he has won all 3 by stoppage.
The rematches, you mean?
Yeah, in the rematches. So
other than the David Hay one, what are the other ones? Not David Hay, sorry. Derek Chisora ones. What are the other ones?
He rematched shit.
I know there's some more, they're British level guys. I know that, but
my brain's gone right now, but
it's cool.
I'll look it up in a sec.
Chisora's the notable one.
Yeah, there's a no mass is the same one, right?
No mass Chisora. Before you jump in, Rob, do you want to just sorry to cut you off, but let's come in here with the rematch talk and all that, just so we can, because that's just naturally where the conversation's going.
Yeah.
First up here, let's actually just present this information just from factoid here. 15,816 fans packed. They sold out MGM Grand. The gate was 16.9 million, which is a new Nevada record for the heavyweight division, and beat the old mark of the Lennox Lewis Evander Holyfield rematch, which was at 16.88 million. And for comparison, for last year, guys, Canelo Kovalev and Canelo Jacobs both did like 8-point-something million. I think it was like Canelo Jacobs was 8.6, and then Canelo Kovalev was 8.1 or 8.0. So this is double that. For also comparison, Wilder Ortiz too, right? The last pay-per-view he had, that did a gate of 4-point-something million. So this is 4 times that gate. Really a massive gate, just overall gate revenue from the fight. Now, in terms of the information of the rematch and stuff, or just the fight period, Kevin Oley saying that he has no broken jaw, Wilder has no broken jaw, and that the ear injury was not a ruptured eardrum or a broken eardrum. It was just a 2-centimeter cut that required stitches. Also, in terms of the rematch, now let's get to it. Wilder has 30 days to determine whether he wants the third fight he is owed in his contract. Bob Arum told Keith Idec of Boxing Scene that deadline could be extended, but the third fight is supposed to take place by August. That deadline is flexible too, apparently. So don't hold these windows too tight, guys, but those are sort of the windows we're working with. Also, Lance Pugmire reporting briefly. Actually, let's get to this first. Wilder's managers expect a third fight with Fury to happen next, writes Keith Idec. Obviously, Shelley Finkel and others are expecting this. Also, Warren confirmed that Wilder's manager have already called to the Fury trilogy is likely. And now this came out just 30 minutes before the show started. Lance Pugmire was talking to Deontay Wilder, saying, full story coming to Athletic shortly. Deontay Wilder, Bronze Bomber, tells me he is definitely exercising his rematch clause for a summer trilogy against Tyson Fury, that his legs were weakened by his 45-pound costume he wore to the ring to honor Black History Month. Also told by Deontay Wilder that he is reevaluating retaining assistant trainer Mark Breland because his team knew, quote, "I'd rather die in the ring than have the towel thrown in. I'm a warrior," end quote. Then also Wilder also has harsh words for referee Kenny Bayless, alleging Bayless declined to effectively confront Fury over slow punches to the back of Wilder's head and neck after telling Wilder he would disqualify him if he did the same in a pre-fight dressing room. Okay, guys. A lot to get here. Where do we want to start first? We want to start about the Mark Breland situation, the rematch. What do we the costume theory?
Oh my god!
Let's start with the costume because it's too ridiculous. It's too good. It's too good.
There's no way carrying a 45-pound costume like 100 feet, maybe 100 yards, pushing it right. Like, there's just no way that tired you out if you're a top level athlete. Sorry.
If it does, that's quite an indictment on your conditioning.
Facts.
Right?
Yes,
and maybe the extra weight was a problem.
Also,
I've heard he's apparently mentioned as well that pacing around the locker room before the fight and then wearing the costume.
It's his first pro loss. I'm not surprised he's trying to make excuses for it. Like, it happens, man. Like, all the greats do it. Like, it's okay.
I don't understand this obsession with the zero. So what? Ali lost 5 times. Ken Norton beat him 3 times. Ken Norton beat Ali 3 times. Let's be real. Ali's the greatest of all time, besides Larry Holmes. Right? I don't understand this obsession with, so what? I lost. Okay, go beat him again. Like, Evander Holyfield.
Ego, man. Ego. You built your entire career brand around you as a fighter being perfect, as amazing, knocking out everyone. And let's be honest, don't tell me that walkout wasn't added pressure, man. And because when we were doing the live chat with, I was with Anthony, you guys weren't on the show yet. I wasn't really paying attention to it that much because, talking and I can't listen to it. So why pay attention to it? But on the rewatch, oh my God, he had all of the prominent black figures in all of U.S. history behind him as he walked out. How do you not add so much pressure to yourself to perform? Oh my God. I mean, it was amazing. The walkout was spectacular, but the amount of pressure on his back, other than the 45-pound Shredder outfit or Sauron from Lord of the Rings outfit, doesn't matter.
Kevin Ioli, it says something like, he said, it weighed 40-something pounds, what with the helmet and the batteries. It's like, fuck. Look, I know you said this is just reflect, but you don't say this excuse. Say you were injured, for fuck's sake.
Oh, yeah, that's a far more acceptable.
Saying the costume was too heavy, because you just sound like a.
I hope it's like Pugmire taking his words a little bit out of context.
No,
it's not. But I hope
Kevin Ioli's got the same quotes, exactly the same response.
There must have been a media call or something. I'm assuming.
I don't know, but.
Just acknowledge you lost the fight and that he was better than you, and you're going to come back in August and you're going to do better. Like, why don't you just say he beat me? Like,
because to do that, Gary, and we're going to talk about this now, the rematch, obviously, as we were talking about. The needed adjustments to make in camp, he won't make them. Because Wilder's a very prideful person. And think about the one person in his corner that was doing the right thing. He's thinking about kicking that guy out of his camp. And Mark Breland. I don't see Wilder making those adjustments. I don't see Wilder turning that corner in a rematch. I just don't. It's very hard to do that. Not everyone can. And the added factor of him being a mid-30-year-old fighter, how set in his ways is he? That becomes a factor. And plus, he's been with JD's his entire career. From the moment he walked into a boxing gym to start being a boxer to collect some money to pay for his daughter, because he was poor, that was JD's. He's not going to walk away from that. I just don't see it. It's not happening, and that's just sad because I do think he needs another pair of eyes in that camp, and not just Mark Breland. He needs someone else completely than these guys. I don't know who exactly. Maybe go get a Freddie Roach. That'd be funny. But you need someone that can actually. I know Gary keeps saying that he's not going to be an inside fighter, but you need to improve your inside game. Like, you can't fight Andy Ruiz, Usyk, Tyson Fury, AJ, name anyone else, Joe Miller, Dylan White, if you don't have an inside game. Like, sorry. Like, this is not how it works. Deontay Wilder was significantly lucky fighting guys that were not even near his athletic prowess and be significantly shorter and smaller than him. That helps. That just helped. And if you look at the fights that Wilder always struggled with, there were guys that were actually matching him in height and reach in terms of physical advantages, because then the technical side becomes more of the conversation, because then the physical disadvantages or separation isn't a factor.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of said what I was going to say. If this fight does happen, I think Chris Mannix said, someone who's familiar with the contract, that this fight will be end of July. Look, if it said July 2021, 2021, I still wouldn't think Wilder had enough time to make the adjustments. So the fact that it's July 2020, there's, in my opinion, zero chance of him making the necessary adjustments. And on the Breland thing,
well, August, that's there's different support, because
it has to be done by July. Does maybe lend to it being end of by August means it's probably end of July, right?
I can find the tweet exactly again if you want.
Yeah, okay, but just
by August, to a degree, but I mean that deadline's flexible. I mean, Keila Deck is saying that directly.
Yeah.
None of these dates, even the 30-day window, that's not a concrete hard date.
All right, I prefixed it with, if it is to be in that time frame, then he's not gonna.
No, I agree with that. I'm just saying for our listeners that those dates largely don't matter. Because it could be August, September. It could be, these dates could be flexible as the reporting states.
Yeah.
But you're right. Even with August, September, it doesn't matter. He's not going to make that adjustment. He needs 9 months. This fight needs to be in November, December for him to make that adjustment.
He needs 5 fights to progress and sharpen things. But it's not going to happen, right? Like, let's make him Paul Williams. Let's make him a guy who can land the right hand from the outside, but who is predominantly an inside fighter, even though he's way tall. Like, come on, guys. You know what I'm saying? It's just not going to happen. And if you do that, you've nullified what makes him special, right? Which is Wilder on the outside. Like, I don't. Okay, to combat that a little bit, Gary. To go back to what you're saying about you don't make him an inside fighter. Just fine tune what he does right. Where's the left hook? Check hook, lead hook. Doesn't have it.
A hook inside a combination from a 1-2. Nothing. So like, there's basic punches and combinations that he can throw from the outside that he just doesn't throw. Doesn't have the willingness to throw, and also he is such a slow starter. That needs to be needs to be pushed out of camp somehow, or through pushed out of him in camp somehow, drilled out of him through camp somehow. Because Tyson Fury realized that, and that's what Rob said about him like launching at Wilder in the first round.
He ran,
it set the tone immediately. It did.
Yeah, this is what's going to happen tonight, and that deal with it, or you're getting knocked out. But sorry.
So Wilder in the trilogy fight needs to run at Fury, throw a 1-2-3, pressure him. Like, he needs to almost do the Tyson Fury in the rematch here to Tyson Fury in the trilogy fight.
I want the windmill back. That's what I want. I want him to swing into the lights.
Just throw punch. Like, here's the thing. Wilder, when he's trying to be that patient, I'm just going to laser that right hand down the pipe. You're not throwing anything. All you're doing is you have this loose arm out there, this loose guard. You're not slipping off the center line. You're such a walking target. Mm-hmm. And again, you're not throwing anything back to have Tyson Fury be wary of anything. It's almost to the degree of like we're talking about like Anthony Sims or Josh Kelly, other guys that are defensive, right, and don't throw back, and that hurts them. Not to the same way at all. But like Deontay Wilder has that issue where he is so laid back in the first 5-6 rounds that he can just lose just by doing nothing. Look at the Ortiz rematch. He just lost all those rounds by doing nothing. And you can't do that at this high level. You just can't. You can't hope that one right hand is going to save you every time. Yes, the heavyweight division. Yes, that is Hall of Fame level of power in that right straight. I get it. But, dude, you don't have Hall of Fame other skills.
No. He's got amateur level skills. Besides,
you need to improve it, man. And the thing is, when I was going into this fight, I thought Wilder was going to struggle because I said Tyson was going to actually have a lot of success being the aggressive throwing combination. But I thought Wilder would also be able, and at least Mark Breland, JD's, people that I've talked to in camp, people I've talked to in person. Even JD's, I don't think is the brainiac of boxing. He's a smart guy. He knows boxing. That they would have watched the tape and said, we need to figure out some small tactical approaches to deal with this inside work from Tyson Fury, this pressure from him. Because if he actually does this in the rematch, we don't have an answer to it right now. And they didn't. They didn't make that turn for the rematch. Only Fury made the turn to make adjustments.
I watched a lot of JD's or Diaz, however you say it, in the build-up. And I kind of always sort of thought, this guy loves his boxing. He's quite a historian of it, this, that, and that. But he always seemed to come back to Wilder's right hand. I think even one time he's like something like, it doesn't matter. I think someone brought up, Fury's movement and the feints he said, and he kind of always came back to, it doesn't matter. Wilder's power. He's got that equalizer. Once he lands that shot, it's lights out. It's this, that, and that. So to me, that says like we don't necessarily have a game plan other than you're going to land that right hand at some point. Now, for me, JD's, he's been like loyal to apparently Wilder's wishes. There's from Lance Pugmire. I've told them many times that if anyone throws the towel in on me, there will be consequences. Now, obviously, Wilder is JD's kind of like only fighter, the only guy like he trains, right? I know there's a few other guys in the gym, but I think he does them more on a managerial front. So maybe there's an element of, I'm not, that's me over with. If I throw a towel in, I'm gone. But
that's my meal ticket.
That's my livelihood, right? So I don't know, but Mark Breland, the actual fighter in the camp, former fighter or whatever, he done the right thing. He let Wilder, have the option of taking a fucking trilogy, right? So anything could happen in that ring, and we've seen it a lot last year and previously, where tragic things happen. And Mark Breland, it may have been hard to do, but it seems he's the only one in Wilder's corner that kind of had Wilder's back. I get the whole I'm a warrior mentality, and probably 99% of other fighters would say the same thing. No, don't throw in the towel. We saw, I know this is a slightly different level, but Tommy Coyle pleading with Jamie Moore, please don't, I'll do better, don't. It's like, no, you're getting fucked up. I'm not going to sit here with the power to stop this fight and not use that power. So no, you're not carrying on. Or, I love you too much. Like you're my guy. I'm not going to sit here and watch it. So if Wilder makes changes based off the fact that Breland threw in a towel, if he's an incompetent trainer, if it's time to freshen things up, fine. Fighters do that, but not because the guy had your best interests at heart. I don't care what you've told your camping trainer.
No, quickly, Garrett, because I absolutely agree with that. And I do agree that, honestly speaking, Mark Breland and JD should be gone. Like, Wilder needs a completely new scene. Like, if he's back in Tuscaloosa, I'm heavily skeptical of him in the trilogy fight. But it shouldn't be due to him throwing the towel. That was the only smart thing the corner did the entire fight. No one wiped his face. No one put incel on him. Like, there were so many things that corner just didn't do that you expect from a world championship, 10 plus consecutive title defense corner. You expect more of.
I believe one part of the instructions after the knockdown was try a right hook. I'm sure I heard, was it JD say try a right hook? It's like, just do the one trick. Come on, you can do it. I don't know. I've noticed that a lot in Wilder fights. The corner don't seem to be, I don't know,
giving tactical advice because there's no tactical advice to give.
yeah, basically in a nutshell. It is purely this right hand's going to land, and it's
I see some people in the chat. I don't necessarily fully disagree with this sentiment from some people in the chat that Fury is, a 6'9", 270-pound fighter. He is so technically skilled, so fast, so fluid. Like, he is the only one that can kind of do this to Wilder. And I get that sentiment from people because, Fury can probably be the person to do this so well against Wilder. But if you don't look at Saturday's fight and say, man, imagine Big Baby against Wilder in there, a 300-pound dude that throws 100 punches around, that's constantly coming forward. Or Dylan White that can throw in the pocket, that has more power than Fury. Or AJ, who is a far better boxer than Deontay Wilder, obviously speaking. We're talking about that leaps of technical divide. AJ is closer to a Fury than he is a Wilder, obviously. And he packs a lot more power, has an inside game. Usyk, for example, if you don't see him being able to outbox and get on the inside and rough up Wilder from this same exact game plan, then I don't know what you're watching. Like, Wilder can still win those fights. Don't get me wrong. But to act like it's a foregone conclusion that Wilder can beat everyone else but Tyson Fury. Tyson Fury is that unicorn out there that can beat Wilder. No. There's issues with Wilder's game he needs to correct, or there's a blueprint now. There's a blueprint to beat him. And other guys in the division, the top 10 even, have that style, the tactical approach, usually speaking, to capitalize on that blueprint. You have to adjust now. You do. You have to add wrinkles to your game. You have to add technique, add strategy to your game that just is not there at the moment. Yeah. Let's get into it. Obviously, this was most of the quotes that seems to be circulating come from Kevin Ioli's article with Deontay Wilder. And we're going to read some of the quotes from good old Deontay Wilder, now former champion. Oh, look at that picture, man.
Sorry, man.
Fucking Sauron.
Does it look that heavy? Does it look that heavy to you? Like, what is it made of?
Look, we're going to get to it. Like, even if it's 40 pounds, like that.
Although, quickly, there's a clip now circulating of him on Joe Rogan telling everybody how he trains in a 45-pound weight suit a weights vest virtually every time he works out.
Yes, hilarious. Quote from Deontay Wilder: "He didn't hurt me at all, but the simple fact is that my uniform was way too heavy for me." Wilder told Yahoo Sports by telephone. "I didn't have no legs from the beginning of the fight. In the third round, my legs were just shot all the way through. But I'm a warrior, and people know that I'm a warrior. It could easily be told that I didn't have my legs or anything. A lot of people were telling me it looked like something was wrong with you. Something was. But when you're in the ring, you have to bluff a lot of things. I tried my best to do so. I know I didn't have the legs because of my uniform. I was able to put it on for the first time the night before, but I didn't think it was going to be that heavy. It weighed 40 some pounds with the helmet and all the batteries. I wanted my tribute to be great for Black History Month. I wanted it to be as good. And I guess I put that before everything." Also, let's just read all of these quotes just so we can get over with it. "I'm upset with Mark Breland for the simple fact that we've talked about this many times." Speaking of the towel being thrown in, and it's not emotional, Wilder said. "It is not an emotional thing. It's a principle thing. We talked about this situation many, many years before this even happened. I said, as a warrior, as a champion, as a leader, as a ruler, I want to grow out my shield. If I'm if I'm talking about going in and killing a man, I respect the same way. I abide by the same principle of receiving. So I told my team to never, ever, no matter what it may look like, to never throw the towel in with me because I'm a special kind. Blah 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 blah." Speaking of Breland again, I understand that he was looking out for me and trying to do what he felt was right, but this is my life, my career, and he has to accept my wishes. Sure. And speaking of the referee told me specifically that if I hit him in the back of the head or hit him on the break, he'd disqualify me, Wilder said. But I guess that was only directed toward me because he allowed Fury to do those things. That's the one thing that bothered me of everything. And then he finished it with, "I'm super happy for Tyson Fury. I really want to give him my complete congratulations. He's had a lot of great accomplishments in his career, and this is right there with all of them. I'm very excited about this career and what he has done. He deserves a lot of credit." Rob, where do you want to begin?
Well, for a start, if you're going to heap praise on Fury at the end and say he deserves a lot of credit, don't say the shit you said before that statement, because that is taking away all the credit, because you've got a list of excuses to take the credit away from Tyson Fury. Bottom line, you got beat up by the better guy, and you weren't able to do anything during the fight to change the course of that fight. And yeah, you've come out with all these excuses, thus not giving Fury any credit. You're basically saying, had these things not happened, I would have won the fight. So yeah, that isn't giving now any credit at all.
That I agree with that as well. I think it's a little bit hypocritical to give a list of excuses and then say, "Hey, but this, I want to give him complete praise." Well, you're not. Like, if you just said, "I want to give him praise," that's fine. Like, that would actually, semantically speaking, probably be correct. But then you said complete. 3/4 of your statement here, Deontay Wilder, if to break it down by topic here, is to discredit Fury's win, which I think is largely due to his strategic changes from the first fight to this fight. And I want to get to something that's off. I was talking to a good listener, Heath, on social media a lot the past, I think, day or two about this, and just something that's been on my mind. These excuses don't become really an issue until he then fires Breland, he keeps JDs, and he makes no adjustments. If those three things happen, then these excuses become more substantive. If this is just him wanting to go out into the public and, due to ego, wanting to push back on him losing, but then let's say in private or just in camp period, he keeps Mark Breland, let's say adds a third eye to the camp, whoever that may be, and somebody that we all respect, right? And actually makes adjustments. That's something that he talks about. He talks about making technical adjustments, strategic adjustments, and then is transparent to a degree to the public so that we can see he's making those changes. If that happens, then these excuses really don't matter. But I find that highly unlikely. that's going to happen. I do think that I still think, as I've been saying since Saturday, that Mark Breland's probably going to be fired. He's going to keep JD's, and little to no tactical adjustments are going to be changed for the rematch. And those that are adjusted will be from JD's, who I like. I think he's a nice guy, but I don't find him as a strategic mastermind of the sport. He's a good mind of the sport, but not a guy that I can see sitting down, watching the tape, and then saying, I can now craft a game plan, and now I can apply that game plan into training methods, and then actually mold Deontay Wilder to fit this new strategic goal. I don't see him doing that. I see somebody else needing to come in, even above Mark Breland to a degree. I don't think Breland is up to par for this. And even if he is, the now obvious rift between the two, I think will probably mean that even if Breland's given all of the control to craft the game plan and craft the training, it won't matter because there's now a rift between the two that will be hard to go past now heading into rematch 6 months down the line, whenever it is. Rob?
Yeah, I agree. I think Breland, he I don't think he'll remain in the camp. And I really don't think JD's is the guy to go forward with it. Like I said on the show, I think it was on Monday, that I just feel JD's in every interview I saw always wound up back to the right hand. He's just got to land the right hand. And I just don't see that there's necessarily a game plan. They might have talked about be patient, don't go looking for it all the time, wait for the opening rather than, go swinging constantly. But other than that, I just don't think there's plan A. And if that's not working, it's keep trying plan A until it happens. There's no B or C or, he's switching to southpaw. If that's the case, do this. He's pressuring. He's slipping off to the right. Or I don't think there's any other. It's land that right hand. The referee thing, you could say Fury was, a little rough, a little dirty, but it's a boxing match. It's. Yeah. I didn't see anything in there that warranted instant disqualification. If that was actually said to him backstage about hitting behind the head, you'll be disqualified. Did he mean if there's one shot, or if you repeatedly? I think there's some context missing out.
We all know what it means. Like, we're not like, why do we all watch boxing? We know that has never happened ever in a championship fight. If you're clinched up and you're moving heads like that, and you get a rabbit shot behind the head, that you're disqualified. That's never happened before. Don't play us for being naive. We're not naive here.
And let me tell you, you don't suddenly do it in a room with 10,000 travelers, because that stadium probably wouldn't still be standing. But
and just to add to that, not totally to that, but side topic to like the costume, back to that. Like I said this before, he's a high-level athlete. He's on record saying that he trained strength and conditioning with a 45-pound weighted chest, vest. Thank you, on him. And to act like putting on a costume and walking 100 yards, 100 meters, right, for a European audience, like, is any big deal for him? No, it's not. Wilder, you got hit. You didn't technically adjust. And, I made a post out there on social media, I think it was yesterday or the day before, asking for like people like, hey, if you're in there with Wilder to readjust in training camp, what do you tell him to do? How can he fix his game? What can he apply to the rematch to actually win? Iso, who's a good listener to the show, said, "Be first. Don't let Fury dictate with his jab, and also don't lean back to avoid Fury's jab." I agree with that completely. In the first fight, he was pawing. He was parrying the jab. This time, he leaned back. Don't lean back. Also saw somebody else say KO Fury early, and I agree with that as well. That he will lose the cardio battle. So even if a couple random people online can think of a couple smart things to adjust, I guarantee you, if Freddie Roach, Ronnie Shields, Ben Davison, a lot of people could come up
Was that the one?
with game plans. Okay,
Oh my god!
with game plans to beat Tyson Fury, and on top of that, to apply training methods in a camp to actually fix your issue. You know, like that's a huge aspect. It's one thing for me to sit here and like recognize an issue. It's an entirely different thing if I were to come up with physical exercises to train that. That's a different mindset to have. I don't really have that. I'm not an expert like that to come up with actual training exercises to fix some of Deontay Wilder's issues. But guess what? There is plenty of people out there that can. I don't think JD is one of them. I don't think Mark Breland is one of them, to be quite honest.
Yeah, I think Breland should just go anyway. Just
and the one that is Ben Davison. You know it, Rob. You know it, Rob. Don't deny it. Okay, hold on. Don't deny it. Don't deny it. Okay, Ben Davison would be the perfect trainer for Deontay Wilder right now. When it happened, it's complete fantasy, and it's coming from a Rocky movie. But if you want somebody that we have seen in terms of transparent public footage that has applied great physical exercises to train and adapt a fighter, technically speaking, to apply defensive strategy, he is one of the best right now, especially from a younger perspective. He is one of the best. And Wilder needs someone like that. If it's not Ben Davison, it needs to be someone like him.
Yeah, if there's the clone out there, not the actual one, because that's just ridiculous. But yeah, someone like that. Yeah, that's right. But to me, is Wilder the kind of guy to accept that he's not that guy? Because I've seen interviews. He thinks he's got this great left hook. He thinks he's got this great uppercut. He thinks he's got this great body work. He thinks he's got this great. And I just don't think I'm alone in thinking that he hasn't got that. And I don't want to sound like I'm so harsh on it, but the whole thing about Wilder's always been he's just technically not great, but he hits like fuck. And when he lands, that's usually it. Well, it didn't happen. So therefore, what you fall back on then, fundamentals, things like that, he hasn't got them. And I've seen people say, oh, well, he wouldn't have won an Olympic bronze medal if he hadn't got fundamentals in this. I don't necessarily think that's true, to be honest. But or whether he's just fallen out of that in the pro game, he's then gone knockout, and he's neglected a lot of stuff that he maybe did pick up in the amateurs or did know back then. But I don't know if Wilder's too prideful to accept that he needs this wholesale change or sort of major tweaks, if you know what I mean. Just quickly on the Durrell thing. Apparently Durrell was behind Mark Breland, pleading with Breland to stop the fight. Was it stop the fight, throw in the towel, we love our champion? And because Durrell is a Kronk fighter and Breland was a Kronk fighter, there was some kind of conspiracy to throw the towel in. Diaz was telling Breland not to do it. Shelley Finkel apparently yelled at Mark Breland not to do it. The fact that Shelley Finkel mustered up enough energy to yell is quite, shout out to Shelley for that one. I don't think he's got a yell in him, but it just seems to me in that whole team, Mark Breland is the only one that legitimately cared for Wilder in a true sort of like, I don't know. Mark Breland's been a fighter. J. Diaz hasn't been a fighter. Shelley Finkel hasn't been a fighter. And it's as if they, I don't know, saw money like dripping. Wilder was picking up his check. It's not like...
I don't know about that. JD's and Wilder have known each other for...
So why wouldn't you want the towel thrown in? I get the whole, but this is what Deontay wants and stuff. But you're supposed to... The trainer's job isn't to be brave.
I will give JD's the benefit of the doubt for this thing, to stand by your fighter publicly. Who knows what he said privately? I don't give him issue for that. I don't. I'll be honest. Should he have thrown in the towel? Yeah, but someone did. It was Mark Breland. The issue I have with the situation is more from Wilder being upset by it. JD is going to back his fighter and back his man because I get that to a degree. And again, I don't know what he's saying privately.
Well,
I know JD's enough to a degree to I can see him responding privately to Wilder differently. Absolutely.
yeah, I guess, but it's just there's absolutely
these aren't evil men. Like Shelly Finkel isn't an evil guy. JD's isn't an evil guy. Let's not like push that narrative that for fanboys to rally up and say, "Oh, these guys are evil, they're money hungry." No, that they did not see it as dangerous as Mark Breland. Mark Breland saw this as a dangerous fight in those 5th, 6th, 7th round, right? Like he as a fighter, as you described, probably knew this was getting too far. JD's wasn't a fighter. Shelly Finkel wasn't a fighter. It's not due to them being evil and wanting money. It's just knowledge. If you've taken blows, if you've been hurt, you know when someone else has been hurt. You get what I'm saying?
I guess, but if you can't see that from like literally ringside, then I don't know. I haven't been in the game as long as Shelly Finkel. I might look it, but Finkel's seen.
And again, but you're only taking their public stance. Who knows what they're saying privately? And Shelly Finkel's been around for 50 years in the sport.
Yeah, no. I mean,
let's go. Like I these aren't evil guys.
I don't mean it as in they're evil guys. I'm just saying, like,
they're not Don Kings. Like Don King will just want it for the money. You know what I mean? Don King will let a fighter go out to die just for the money. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think JD's and Shelly Finkel are that type.
No, I don't mean like let him die and stuff like that. But I just don't. Why I don't know why Finkel's yelling at Breland, "Don't throw that towel in!" Like at the actual time of it happening. And apparently, Jay Diaz has shoved Breland back at the back. I think Dan Raphael's reported that in his after his story, or he's heard, or he saw himself. There was JD shoving Breland. I mean, Breland looks, I don't know, he looks kind of a frail old man to me, but I don't know. So this whole, like, where's the team?
They lost. They're all going to be emotional. They're all going to have different opinions.
But
like, I don't see that as an issue. Like a team not...
Win as a team, you lose as a team. That's all I see it. But
it's your first big loss in the biggest fight of your career. Of course, emotions are running high 5 seconds after the knockout. Like, I don't understand why this is an issue. Like I said, same with like the excuses. Like, that's not the issue. If Wilder doesn't adjust in the camp for the rematch, that's the issue. That is the end all be all.
Yeah, no, I get,
right. Because he can say all this shit. They can have all these riffs in the camp, but if he makes the adjustments, if he adjusts accordingly, adapts to the rematch and fights better, even if he loses, let's just say he fights better, then it's a good sign. And all this doesn't really mean much. It's just public pom-pom waving to a degree. And that's, and come on, Rob, you've been in this industry long enough. Like, you know, a large degree of the public statements put out by fighters, managers, advisors, promoters is all for pom-pom waving to a degree.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just like, I just don't like the whole situation of it. Like, to me, like I say, you lose as a team. You take the good with the good and the rough with the rough. You take it away, deal with it internally. But maybe it's
from our understanding, they did. Dan Raphael was behind the back, and
no, I mean, and then the coming out publicly with information of certain things, about, I'm not happy with Breland. I've told them before, if this happens, there's consequences, and I don't know. I just think it's a bad look, like on a PR front. Like this.
I did not disagree with that, but what I'm saying is I agree with that. It's a bad PR look. Of course it is, but I don't think it matters. Like that, like this, these riffs is not what's largely going to matter. Is Wilder's ego too big to adjust? That's like the end all be all, in my opinion. And I don't think it will. I don't think he will adjust, like I've said time and time again. But he's still, largely speaking, owed the chance to adapt, as all champions are owed when they lose. I would say, especially long reigning champions. You know, I think we all wanted to see the AJ Ruiz rematch to see if AJ can adjust to the inside pressure from Andy Ruiz, and he did. Now, obviously, Andy did dip off to his own degree in the rematch, and that led to that fight looking the way it did.
Well, he did have a 15-pound sombrero, so
yeah. Hey, man, as you know, weigh a lot. I think Wilder can absolutely adjust. The statement or argument that he can't adjust is just wrong. Will he is the argument, because he absolutely can adjust. He can make changes to his strategy, to his technique in camp to adjust better to Tyson Fury for a trilogy fight. Does he is the question. Does he is the debate.
In the short amount of time that he's got as well. That's the...
I was doing the math. It's the same amount of time as AJ Ruiz. So I'm not too concerned, because that happened in April. This happened in February, right? So like, in terms of...
Yeah, but then again, that's down to can he not...
No. Absolutely. But you start speaking of timing. I don't think time's...
maybe. But
he has 7 months, give or take. 6 months. If we're looking at an August date, push it back to maybe September, you're looking at 8 months. That's completely reasonable to make adjustments. If he, let's say, brings about, again, Freddie Roach, Ronnie Shields, Andre Rozier,
I don't think Ronnie Shields is going to get the call. He kind of really went in on everything.
I'm just naming good.
That
I think could actually sit down with Wilder and adjust his game.
Derek James, do you think? What about Kenny Porter as far as inside work?
Ooh, Kenny Porter, that's a random throw. I like that. I don't. They would not be my first call, either one of them. I think they're pretty similar in what they could probably deliver, because I've seen both of them train.
But what they deliver, does it help Wilder in that sense?
Would it be better than his current situation? Yes, absolutely. Even Kenny. I think even Kenny. But are they better than the names I mentioned? Probably not. I'm trying to think of some other trainers.
George Foreman came up. So what about, like I said, pre-show, Lennox Lewis? No. Get that whole he hates AJ hates Lewis thing going on, helping the American. Spicy, right?
Who was another trainer I saw that was mentioned? Was it Lennox's old trainer? God, I saw some other people mentioning trainers. I forget the names escaping me, but there's tons of people he could go to and switch up and adjust. And I think he can adjust. And I saw somebody say, "Can he adjust enough?" I think he can. I don't see him being a complete goner now. The wheels are not off. Deontay Wilder will not now lose to every top 15 heavyweight. So that's just not going to happen. He's beaten a couple top 15 heavyweights, guys. That's just not going to happen off rip. Now, could certain top guys take game plans and strategize based off of this Tyson Fury performance? Absolutely. Andy Ruiz, Joe Miller are names that I mentioned specifically. I can see adapting Fury's game plan perfectly. Adam Wanaki, even to a degree. Guys that are pressure fighters, guys that are inside fighters, they're going to give Wilder some issues naturally. But Wilder has the tools, both from a power standpoint, from a size standpoint, and already from a pure base technical standpoint. You can build something off of him easily. And I just think it takes people that aren't JDs and Mark Breland. Sorry. I think he's maximized all he can do with those guys, and he did that 5-8 years ago. I'm not saying they didn't do great stuff with Wilder. They didn't build him into a bronze medal winner in the Olympics. They didn't build him into a world champion. They did. But he clearly maxed out his whatever potential with them some time ago. Now it's time for a fresh look. I think all fighters need a fresh look at some point.
Yeah, I don't know. People felt like, this, like Ruiz too. There was a patience about him. He started to, there was a bit more measured about that right hand. But again, if that hadn't have come off, he was 6-0 down, right? There just needs to be some kind of change. But
you mean Ortiz, right?
Did I not say Ortiz?
I think you said Ruiz.
Oh,
maybe I misheard you. It's possible.
Ortiz too.
No, you're right about that. No, you're right.
Yeah. So there was this new sort of patience. He wasn't headhunting and really going for it. It was, looking for openings, looking for the, and then delivered. But
the funny thing is that adjustment to be more patient, more composed, sort of keep that arm out there as that measuring stick more, that directly hurt him in this fight.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
I mean, like, he couldn't adjust from that at all.
And what happens? He used to have quite a hurtful jab, but he's almost gone to sort of hanging it out and flicking it a little bit, and like, I don't know.
I think Fury was really good about not letting Wilder be comfortable throwing the jab, if that makes sense.
Hard backwards, right?
Yes and no, but I would say
to be forceful with it. I mean,
yes, to be forceful with a jab going backwards is hard. No, you're right about that. But you can still, really efficiently use a jab on the back foot. Actually, obviously most defensive boxers use that.
Yeah.
But the problem was that Fury, the way he was feinting, the way he was slipping off the side, his lateral movement constantly. If you're Wilder, you can't really get a read on that, especially in the first round or so. And when you're Fury and you're jumping on him to that degree, so you don't have sort of the window to throw the jab. You don't have the placement to throw the jab because he's moving so much, he's feinting so much, and you're now worried about the right hand counter because now you're thinking about him coming inside, and I'm thinking, no, I can't throw the jab. I got to throw a right hand down the pipe to stop him. So you give up on the jab, and then damn, Fury is right there on you and throwing combinations. So the feinting was more at work to take away the jab.
Yeah,
of Wilder than anything.
I know they worked. I think there's some videos online for this camp for this fight, and Wilder had dots, and it was to try and negate not necessarily even trying to jab his head, like the chest, like that is going to be the most sort of part that isn't moving so much. Like the center of that will only move a little bit, whereas the head can go, a lot further in distance. So they did try, but I don't know whether just Fury's tactics completely threw him off the fact that, do what we done in training, like the dots, aim for the red dots or something. It was just gone like, oh shit, this guy's coming at me, and just pushing me back and changed everything. But
go back and watch, because I did this yesterday and I was blown away by the tonal difference in the fight, or the second Ortiz fight, right? In that first round, just watch the first round and the first round of Fury 2. There was no time for Wilder to adjust. There was no time, just none. But we have to move on just for the sake of time. We've been on this for a while. Still on Wilder Fury, just a brief mention of this because ESPN's Dan Raphael and Steve Kim are reporting this, that Las Vegas is Allegiant Stadium, the new home of the Las Vegas Raiders, could possibly host Fury Wilder trilogy. And I gotta say, that stadium does look amazing. It's the Death Star. Just gotta say that.
You think they can fill it for this trilogy after how the second fight went down?
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right.
I'll put it this way: like Mayweather McGregor 2 is still a massive fight. Mayweather Pacquiao 2 is still a massive fight. Those fights were both their own notorious clusterfuck of bullshit. This was a great fight. Like, casuals love this. Like, was it you or Gary that asked that on the Monday show? Like, if you're a casual, would you find this entertaining? Every casual I've talked to has been in love with this matchup in this fight. Like, they want to see it again. This has definitely transcended to the casual consciousness now of pop culture, zeitgeist, whatever you want to call it. Like, it has transcended us. And once it does that, it can always be big to a degree.
Okay.
And now I don't know if they're going to fill it because what's 100,000 seater, but they could do maybe 50,000, 60,000. That's absolutely possible.
Yeah.
And that would still look pretty full and still be the biggest arena show for boxing, at least, since Canelo Trout. Was that the Alamo Dome and that did a lot? Or was it Pacquiao Margarito? That was that, I think.
Mikey did 45 something, didn't it?
Did that beat Pacquiao Margarito, though?
I'm not sure.
I don't remember.
It'd be big, though. It would be big.
It would be big. I think it'd be bigger than that, for example. Even without having the Hispanic, draw in a Hispanic, state.
Good chance of cheaper pricing as well.
Yeah.
When you start increasing the gate. the size available. So
And they would still do a Monster Gate too. Breaking news edition. I want to get this show and content out to you guys as soon as possible. When I saw the news drop from Mike Coppinger concerning the pay-per-view buy rate of Deontay Wilder, Tyson Fury 2. I am Matt the Hipster Hunter. Find me, Matt Hunter, MCR, on all social media platforms. Hit the like button, share the show, all the YouTube stuff, all that fun stuff. Listen on podcast form, drop that 5-star review on iTunes, and share the show as well. And let's just get into it, because there's probably going to be a variety and spectrum of takes out there. I'm going to be here to give you both sides of the argument and then give you sort of where I fall down on this discussion, because I do think there is some credence to both sides of this argument on whether or not this buy rate of 800 to 850,000 pay-per-view buys is acceptable or is viewed as a success for this mega event. And like I said, the number comes via Mike Coppinger and his sources. The rematch between Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury generated in the neighborhood of approximately 800,000 to 850,000 pay-per-view buys in North America. Best performance by far for a heavyweight title fight since Tyson Lewis in 2002. Wilder Fury 1 sold around 325,000 pay-per-view buys. Now, let's get to whether or not this is, quote, a success or not. I feel like for a lot of people, that is the crux of this news. Is it a success? Should we view this with applause or disdain? Should we view this as it's the failure, or no, it succeeded? And I think on the argument of it is a success, there's a few clear elements to that argument. One is the improvement from the first fight. It is very rare, if never happening in the history of pay-per-view and combat sports, for a rematch to do significantly better than the first fight in terms of pay-per-view buys. It just doesn't happen. Look at Canelo 1, Canelo Triple G 1, Canelo Triple G 2. The only maybe difference you can have is like a Pacquiao Marquez, which spanned a very long span of time, where the fourth one became such a mega event comparative to the first one. But again, that had a decade so of progress for both guys to become more of a superstar. Pacquiao more so than Marquez, obviously speaking. That led to that fourth one being such a massive event. This was generated out of almost nothingness, if that makes sense. Yes, there was the first fight, but this fight, these two guys were built into pay-per-view stars in this build-up overnight, and that can be viewed as a element of success for this. On top of it, like Mike Coppinger said, in terms of viewing it in the argument of is it a success, in terms of yes, it is. It's the biggest heavyweight pay-per-view buy rate since Mike Tyson, Lennox Lewis. That in of itself sort of tells a narrative. On top of it, this is the biggest pay-per-view in boxing to happen in the last 30 years to feature somebody not named Mike Tyson, Evander Holyfield, Oscar De La Hoya, Floyd Mayweather, and Manny Pacquiao. 5 men. That's it. Those are the only men that we can absolutely claim have done better than this in the last 30 years. And now Wilder and Fury sort of entered that realm, along with maybe Miguel Cotto. Though even when Miguel Cotto was in a fight against Margarito, and as I said, the rematch, they did about 750,000 buys. So, it's close to this. And for those that maybe want to see what all the pay-per-views are in the U.S., look, it's very simple. Wikipedia has it, and both cited, both sourced and everything. You can see basically every pay-per-view in UK and US history and all that stuff. It's very simple. Just type in pay-per-view Wikipedia and you will find it. But it's pretty apparent that, again, if you're not named one of those 5 guys, you're in this wasteland of success or non-success to a degree. Look at Roy Jones Jr. up here, barely scratching over 100,000 buys. Lennox Lewis without Holyfield or Tyson barely doing above 400,000. Prince Nassim, Marco Antonio Barrera barely above 300,000. It's clear that those five guys brought an element of just pure hype and attention that was not seen by the other boxers of the last 30 years. And now again, to the argument of, is this a success? Yes, maybe it is. These men now enter that discussion just from a pure numerical perspective. Now, to the argument of this isn't a success, and I feel like it's a pretty obvious argument as well, that you had the entire backing of the ESPN apparatus, the Fox apparatus, you had free advertising on the Super Bowl, and this still couldn't crack 1 million. That would be, I think, the very critical take on it, but it would be a take. It would be a narrative. It would be an opinion about this. Absolutely, that you had X amount of millions of dollars spent on just pure advertising and marketing, or just free advertising and marketing, and all of the Super Bowl ad, and again, still can crack 1 million. You have arguably the biggest star in American boxing, just from a pure TV perspective, other than a few guys in Deontay Wilder, a massive figure, so to speak, in the sporting culture, because Tyson Fury is that to a degree. Even though he wasn't doing great in U.S. numbers in terms of ticket sales and viewership, even though it was on ESPN Plus, so we don't know the viewership, we can assume that the marketing was so much that this should have been bigger, that it even felt bigger to a degree. I can understand that argument from just a pure atmospheric perspective. It just felt like a massive transcending moment. Now to where I ultimately fall on Kaz asking, what did Canelo Triple G do? First, Canelo Triple G did 1.3 million. I can double check that really fast though as I'm talking. Now, where do I fall down on this? Because, and before I get to that, actually, let me add an element from good supporter of the show, good listener of the show, Andre Diakonu, talking about sort of piggybacking off of the narrative of, look at all the push from ESPN and Fox. How did this not break 1 million? How did this not break that threshold? And that being a sign of the pay-per-view market, it being indicative of the pay-per-view market right now. I think that's probably true to a degree. I want to push back on that slightly, and this is probably where I'm going to fall back on in terms of my opinion overall. When we talk about pay-per-view buys, it is so hard to get these numbers, to get above 500,000, let alone 800,000. And close to 1 million. Like, this just doesn't happen. Doesn't happen often back then as well. I mean, I can look over these stats again with you guys. I can show them again. I'll do it. I mean, just let me get up here. No, that's not what I wanted. Here we go. That's what I want. I mean, let me count how many do close to 1 million on just this. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It's about 20, 30 pay-per-view events. 1, 2, 3. 3 events from 2003 to 2008. 3 events did close to 1 million. Or 1 million. Like, you had the run around this era from 2008 to 2013, 14, right, where Pacquiao and Mayweather were just trading events over and over again, but they were the only ones doing events. Like, look at it. It's only Pacquiao. It's only Mayweather. And the ones that don't, Hopkins, Roy Jones 2, 150,000 buys. Cotto, Antonio Margarito 2, 600,000 buys. Okay. And even like the off events for Pacquiao, like Pacquiao Claudio does only 700,000 buys, or only 700,000, right? Tim Bradley, Juan Manuel Marquez, 375,000 buys. You know, like, and then you have sort of the end of sort of their run as pay-per-view stars in terms of Pacquiao, especially, you know, Pacquiao, Brandon Rios, 475,000 pay-per-view buys. Let's be honest here. This is a success. Could this have been more with the marketing? In theory. But ultimately speaking, I think I come down to, in my personal opinion, that these two guys are not pay-per-view stars. Wilder has done 2 pay-per-views in his entire career. Both did under 400,000 buys. First Fury, second Ortiz. Did really good numbers on Showtime, as it's well documented. Tyson Fury, never on pay-per-view, other than the Wilder fight. His run on US TV has been largely non-existent, and the push from ESPN and Fox created a cultural event that did largely transcend. You know, like, you may not think it because it didn't hit that million, that special number, but it did. It did very close. If it did, this rumored 850,000 pay-per-view buys, it is damn near close to being that million. And it's, again, still a transcendental sporting moment for our sport. It is. Let alone the UK buys, let alone the pirated views and downloads. Like, this was massive. And I don't see how you can really argue that this isn't a massive event, and that the numbers prove that. The gate was the biggest gate in Nevada history for a heavyweight fight. That's insane. Okay. And now it's the biggest heavyweight pay-per-view since Tyson Lewis. And it's the only pay-per-view in the last 30 years in boxing to do over 800,000 pay-per-view buys, okay, with names not featuring those 5 names: Mike Tyson, Evander Holyfield, Oscar De La Hoya, Floyd Mayweather, and Manny Pacquiao. You can add Canelo in the mix as well, but most of his events never did a million. You know, I think he did 9 total pay-per-views. 5 out of the 9 did not break a million. You know, like, that's just the God-honest truth. So I don't see how you really spin this one to be a bomb or a failure. It's not. It just isn't. Maybe you can say it broke even from a pure, like, business perspective, but they were fine with this breaking even from a pure business perspective. Because guess what? And I explained this a little bit on today's show. ESPN and Fox use this event as a content farm for their cottage industry 24/7 sports, right? That's what this was. This was a content farm for them. And they made money. The networks for damn sure made money. Everyone made money. Everyone's happy. And to act like this didn't is, again, ignorant of the last 30 years of pay-per-view history that you all can easily look up. Enrique Ramirez saying, the question you should ask, will this help Wilder or Fury do more pay-per-views against average Joes? To a degree, Enrique. We'll do as much as these? Obviously, no, right? Like, let's say if Wilder fought Adamanaki, right? Would that do this buy rate? No, of course not. It won't have the marketing, it won't have the budget behind it. It doesn't have the appeal, obviously, as a Tyson Fury fight does. But these guys, I would say, especially more Fury than Wilder. Wilder's already at a pretty good base level of like 250,000 buys. That's probably got jumped up maybe 50 by 100,000 buys easy as his base going forward. You know, I would sort of assume that. But Tyson Fury is definitely, like, you can make an argument that you can kind of roll the dice and people won't like this. It's nasty that I'm saying it, but it's just the business of boxing. It's going to go. But a Tyson Fury like Gerald Miller pay-per-view, you can kind of roll the dice on that potentially. I could see that being a 250 to 350 sort of range, right? And they break even on that, and that'd be a loss leader or a one where they just break even. God of War saying the event is massive, but the pay-per-view numbers should be higher. People are willing to pay, but not $80. I do wonder if they drop the price down, what it would be like, how much it would change. I would assume homie Evan Rakowski over at Aficionados, he's going to have a good breakdown of this on his next podcast. So if you guys want like a really good insider take on it, a guy that has worked on HBO, pay-per-views, and marketing, he'd be a good person to get that sort of insight to. Casual base guy. If he got a damn face, I probably would have cracked $1 million, shaking my head. Maybe. Shout out to everyone in the chat right now. Hingle, McCringleberry, Enrique, Dario, God of War, Kevin, Kaz, Casual Base Guy, LOL is someone's name. Rabisky, Arthur. I hope everyone's having a fantastic night, morning, wherever you are. Someone obviously mentioning Bob Arum and him citing that it's going to do $2 million, blah, blah. Look, Bob Arum was on some fucking edibles, bro. Like, that's clearly what it was. If you look at what this was able to produce from a pure revenue perspective, comparative to past events in boxing history, this is quite successful. This is I can't stress this enough, guys. If you're not named those 5 or 6 guys, you're not doing good numbers, usually speaking. And even then, those guys didn't do good numbers all the time, as I cited and proven in the video already. This is really good numbers if these hold. Maybe we get second or third reporting that drops these numbers, which does happen occasionally and actually most often. But I definitely think that if these numbers hold up, you cannot argue that this is a failure. This is a massive, massive success. But guys, that's going to be it for this little tiny breaking news reaction show. I just wanted to quickly detail this information to you guys, give my take on it, give maybe the differing opinions and sides to it. You can find me, Matt Hunter, MCR, on all social media platforms. Hit the like button, share the show, subscribe, all that fun YouTube stuff. Patreon.com/Mixed Combat Radio. Have a great day, evening, night, wherever you are in the world listening to this. Peace.